welcome to the Heathered Knits podcast. I'm your host, Heather, and I am coming to you on a really nice, sunny March day from mid-Michigan in my home that I live with my two children, Abby, who is 17, and Phil, who is 12. And we've made it to March. And I can now say 3 months in a row, I've managed to record a podcast to get out to you guys. So that feels good. It is March. And I'll go into at the end of this kind of everything that was going on in February, but we made it to March. The sun is shining. I've seen a couple of robins. I feel like spring is creeping closer, and that is a really good thing, a very good thing. So this is a podcast where I talk mainly about my knitting, but then I also talk a little bit at the end about my life, my family, that sort of thing. So if you want to stick around for that, you are free to. If you just want to see the knitting, that is perfectly fine as well. Whatever works for you. I'm just glad you're here. And I do want to thank all of you for being here, for taking time out of your schedule to sit down and chat knitting with me and life with me. So thank you. I do appreciate that. I know time is a hot commodity, so I appreciate the time that you give me. So thank you. As far as knitting stuff is concerned, I have a finished object to show you, and then like a finished piece, I guess we'll say. And then just some works in progress and some of the things that I've been working on. And kind of speaking to me knitting wise, I touched on this last time, how just the kind of like garter stitch blanket stuff is really being the thing that speaks to me a lot right now. And how I feel like that's brought me kind of back around full circle in like the knitting journey, because you always start with like garter stitch. And I've kind of come back to that as it being a comfort stitch, as you know, life just has been really difficult and really challenging. That comfort of just garter stitch has kind of pulled me back around full circle. And that's where I am at with my knitting for the most part. So you're going to kind of see pretty simple stuff from me. I say this, and then I'm going to show you my first finished object, which is like far from being simple. But it's the one thing that wasn't simple. So since I've already talked about that, I will show it to you. So these are the cabled trellis socks from Stephen West. He is doing a year of socks. And Stephen West is a genius when it comes to design, especially like shawl design. And so I wanted to dabble with his socks. My lovely friend gifted me the patterns for the year. And I've knit 2 of the patterns. I showed the other one before. Those were the painting bricks socks. So if you go back and look at the previous episode, you can see those in more detail, as well as on my Ravelry page. Linked down below will be links to my Ravelry page, where I will have all of the projects that you're seeing today updated and current with all of the details. So check there if you have any questions about stuff. I am not going to be linking or putting like show notes down below. So any information, head to that over to my Ravelry page. It should all be there for you, including those other socks. But this is the second pair of socks from that pattern set, and they're called the cabled trellis socks, and here they are. So yeah, not a simple pattern. Quite a involved pattern, actually, one where you definitely had to pay attention. It wasn't one where I felt like I memorized the way the pattern went. It wasn't the simplest thing to like read your knitting with it. So it wasn't mindless by any stretch of the imagination. That being said, they are beautiful socks and they turned out really nice. They just weren't necessarily my favorite thing to knit, because it did really involve a lot of paying attention and just kind of where I am like headspace wise. That was a little bit more than I was looking for. However, they're beautiful. I do like how they turned out. I'm glad that they're done. they did take a lot more thought and effort than most sock patterns that I've knit. That being said though, like it's not bad to challenge yourself. And I definitely, if you like them and you are interested in a challenge, then I would certainly recommend them. It's just be prepared that these are not necessarily going to be a mindless knit by any stretch of the imagination. But I do like them. I like how they turned out. I think they're cute. I like the color choices. The yarn I used is from Q Loco. Again, all of that stuff will be on my Ravelry page, so if you're curious. So this is my finished object. There is another pair. Actually, I think there's 2 more pairs that are now out in that collection. I don't know if I'm going to be knitting those right away. They may wait because his patterns do take a little bit more thought, and that's great, and I love that. But I don't know that that's where I am from a knitting perspective at the moment. So those might kind of come later on when maybe I'm in a better headspace or have a little bit more energy to put into like mental capacity. Or there's one that I see that I just absolutely fall in love with and I have to knit it, kind of a thing. So, and I haven't looked, one just came out I think yesterday and I haven't looked at it yet, so I don't even know what that one looks like. The other one I feel like I can wait on and that's okay, or it can be something that's like down the road that I knit. I don't feel like this immediate rush to cast it on and get going with it. So that's kind of my thought process on that kit. But again, Stephen West, they're brilliant and they're not going to be like any other socks you have. The kind of finished object that I have is just another square in the pinwheel scrap blanket that I've been working on. I knit a green square. I think I had just started this last time I recorded. I can't remember if I had started it yet or if I was finishing up the pink one. But anyway, this is another green one. So that will go into the pinwheel scrap blanket. I think this is either the 7th or 8th block that I've done. And what I've done is I've kind of put it down because now I have a bunch of, I still have like leftover minis. So I want to work those into a blanket and kind of get those like worked up and done and then go back and continue adding in more squares to this just to kind of keep myself from just being overwhelmed with like extra yarn bits, because I don't really like having a bunch of extra yarn bits laying around. I started something with that, but I'm not really liking how it's turning out, so I'm gonna rip that out and start it again. So I'm not even gonna bother to show you because it isn't anything that I am enjoying the way that it's coming out. So that's gonna get ripped out and put away, and I'm gonna start something different with those scripts. I have them divided into like darker colors and lighter colors, and I am thinking like another blanket with them, but I'm not 100% sure which way I want to go, but like another scrappy blanket. I'm thinking another jelly roll with one of them, and then I'm also thinking the northeasterly blanket with the other set. But again, I'm still kind of muddling all of that around in my mind, and I'm not really there yet with like what I want to do. So that's kind of just sitting on hold, and I will get to it probably later this month, I'm guessing, and I'll decide what I want to do. It's just right now I have other things that I'm focusing on, so I'm not going there. Speaking of the jelly roll blanket, I showed you this last month because I'd gotten like my first set of minis and I had just started working on it. I don't know that I was done with it or not. I can't recall exactly where I was, but I did start a jelly roll blanket. So Legacy Fiber Arts has been doing a monthly club where you get 6 DK weight minis, and I've been using those and putting them into a jelly roll blanket, and I love it. Like, honestly, the jelly roll blanket is proving to be the project I didn't know I needed to knit, if that makes sense. Like, it's exactly what I wanted. It's exactly what I have needed. I'm so glad that I started working on it. And it's really, because it's been exactly what I've wanted and what I've needed, that's why I want to do another one, because I knit my 6 minis into this and then I have to wait for the next one, and I want to keep knitting it. So I want to start another one with some of my other leftovers. So when I'm waiting, I can still be working on it and I just really like it. It's really a great project. I highly recommend this. If you haven't ever done one before, do it. And it's another one where you can use up everything, all of your scraps, because you're just doing strips. So I'm gonna show you, it's a blanket, so it's big. I'm gonna do my best to show you on camera how it's looking. Yeah, I really, really love how this blanket is knitting up. I absolutely love it. I love the simplicity of the pattern. I love this very cool like slip stitch detail that helps create the seams. It's really has a very nice rhythm and flow to it. And so my plan is for that to just be all of the minis from that club are gonna go into that blanket. And it's gonna be, that is the plan for this blanket. It's quite large. If I stand up with it, it comes up to like here on me about my eyes, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to be a big blanket. I didn't want it to be a throw. I wanted it to be a blanket. And that's exactly how it is coming together. I do want to knit another one and have another one going and use up some of those other scraps that I have. I like the DK weight. I said I wasn't going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. What I did before is I started one in fingering weight, and I don't like it as well. I don't like the fingering weight. I've done 4 colors, I think, that were like leftovers from the pinwheels, and I just don't like it in a fingering weight. I like the DK weight. I like the fabric that it's giving. I like the squishiness of it. So I think what I'm gonna do is rip that out and then just hold that fingering weight double, which is what I've been doing for this, is holding fingering weight yarn double. So I think I'm gonna do that for another jelly roll and kind of roll with it in that way, because I wasn't enjoying the fingering weight. It was not really speaking to me. It wasn't as enjoyable to knit. The DK is much more enjoyable to knit. So I think that holding that yarn double is definitely going to help and keep me going with knitting it. So that is going to be the plan for the next blanket. However, before I'm going to start that though, I have a good friend of mine whose birthday is in March. And so I've cast on a pair of socks for her. She used to be a knitter. She doesn't knit anymore. And I had knit a pair of fluorite socks for her for Christmas because she has some neuropathy in her feet, and she finds that the pearl bumps on the inside of socks are really irritating. And the fluorite socks by Andrea Mowry are reverse stockinette. So you knit them and then you turn them inside out, basically. So that's what I'm gonna do again. I'm not gonna do the fluorite socks specifically, but I'm basically going to knit vanilla socks and turn them inside out to gift to my friend for her birthday. And I just got started on this. I've just knit the cuff, so I'll just show you that. And I've only done a couple of rounds in the stockinette. So I'm just getting started on that. And I'm gonna be working on this primarily to kind of get these done for her birthday. I only have, with the jelly roll, this is all I have left of that set. So I'm almost done with that, and then I'll be switching and it'll just be this that I'm working on. This yarn, I'll show you the cake, is from Plies and Hellhounds. It was Once Upon a Corgi, but it's Plies and Hellhounds now. And I am totally blanking on the base and the colorway, but that's where it's from. I'll have that on, I'll put it on my Ravelry page, and you can check that out there because I don't remember. I apologize. So I'll have the colorway and I'll have the base The base is a merino cashmere. I do know that, so it's really nice. It's a very, very lovely feeling yarn. So this is for my really good friend for her birthday, and yeah, that has been my knitting. A lot of it was, these socks took a lot of time. They really did. So that was a lot of it, and then the working on the jelly roll, and then the other jelly roll that I'm gonna rip out has been what I've been working on primarily. And so it doesn't seem like there's been a lot, but I have been knitting. Like I said, it's just that garter stitch that just is really speaking and resonating and connecting with me. And I'm gonna keep doing that. So that's all I have for knitting. If you are not interested in what has been going on with us from the life perspective, that's completely fine. You don't have to hang around for that. Thank you for being here and listening and chatting with me about knitting. But if you are curious, feel free to stick around because we're gonna talk about that next. So life. February was a challenging month in a lot of ways for me. From a emotional perspective, from a physical perspective, it was just very, very challenging. February was hard, and I did a lot of grieving for my mom in February. I think because of Valentine's Day. My mom was a florist, and Valentine's Day was always a big holiday and very stressful, and I always connected it with my mom because it was just this crazy time. Nobody liked it. Nobody liked Valentine's Day, but I still connected it with my mom. Not having her, and it made me think about the times in the flower shop and all of that. So it was a lot of memories that kind of came bubbling back up through Valentine's Day. And so February was difficult for me in that regard. I also have been needing to do some additional health testing through February, and I think that also kind of tied into the grief stuff because I would want to talk to my mom. She was kind of the person that I would go to and talk to about a lot of this stuff, and she's not here to talk to. So it was very lonely as I've kind of been navigating some of these testings that I've had to go through. One of them was an evaluation that kind of looks at and quantifies my fatigue and what my body is doing. So I had that done last week, and it was very intense. It was very extensive. It was very long, and it was exhausting. I can't even put into words how difficult and exhausting that whole process was. The good news with it was it did actually validate everything that I've been saying about how I've been feeling. So that was a positive thing with it. But it was so incredibly taxing. And on that note too, it was also kind of discouraging in some ways because it just kind of went to show me that there really hasn't been any progress. And that can feel really discouraging because it's been 2.5 years of the long COVID, and I haven't been seeing improvements. And I tell people I haven't been seeing improvements, but people don't believe you because you look fine. You don't look like you're sick. You don't look like you're struggling. It's invisible. They can't see it. This validated all of that, but then it was also a little disheartening at the same time. So that was last week on Monday and Tuesday. It has been over a week. I still have not completely recovered from it. I still feel much more fatigued. And it's made me very aware too of the way my body is reacting. The instability in my legs, the fatigue that hits into my muscles, and realizing that I've been doing a lot of things that this guy was like, yeah, you shouldn't do that because that's not safe for you. So that was kind of hit home in a different way as well. So I've been going through that. So February was just a really tough month. I'm going into March, looking forward to sunshine and better weather. And I know sunshine makes such a difference in my overall mood. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's been me, what's been going on there. As far as the kids go, they've continued with swimming, and that's been really exciting for them. Phil has really enjoyed it. He's getting ready to start track. Track is gonna start, so they've started their winter conditioning for track this week, and he's looking forward to that a lot. He really does enjoy running. He really has enjoyed swimming, but he also really loves running. So he's looking forward to getting back into track. They're going to be doing conditioning throughout the month of March, but their season doesn't actually start until April. So it'll just be like working on building up endurance and things like that. So he's doing that twice a week through March, and then he's still swimming a little bit when he can, but not as often. He isn't going to swim during track season because that's a lot. But once track season is over, he's going to start swimming again in the club. And I think that'll be really good for him. He really likes it. He really enjoys it. He's also planning on doing a duet and a trio for solo and ensemble for band with one of his friends, well, two of his friends, because of trio. So that's really exciting for him as well. He's doing quite well with band and really enjoying that, as well as just school in general. He's a good kid. He's a good student. So that's all going really well. Abby, we're getting closer and closer to graduation, which is hard to believe. I don't know where all of that time has gone, but we're getting closer. And one of the really exciting things with her that I can't say enough how proud I am. She is now working on starting a diving program here in our district, like a rec diving, to teach kids how to dive, to get them introduced to the sport, and to continue working with divers year round, hopefully leading into a club, an official club. But right now they're just starting kind of informally to begin with, so that they can just get an idea of interest and things like that. So that's kind of how things are getting started for her. She had a little like interview yesterday, and that went really well. She's really put a lot of time and thought into all of this, and she's really excited about it, and I'm really excited to see her really excited, because it's been a long road getting here, and I'm just really excited that this is happening for her, and it will be a really good opportunity. She's gonna get a lot of really good things out of this, and I'm so proud that she's overcome some awful bullying to make such a better situation for herself and for other kids. So that has been very exciting as well. I've gone on long enough. I am starting to fatigue pretty heavily, so I am going to stop here and leave it at that. If you stuck around for the life stuff, thank you so much for sticking around. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope that you are looking forward to going into summer and better months and spring and saying goodbye to cold and dreariness. And I hope that all is going well with you. Keep on knitting, and I will see you next month. Bye.